The rain hit the restaurant windows like 1,000 tiny knocks, as if the world outside was begging to be let in. Inside, beneath the soft glow of amber sconces, a man sat alone at a table set for two. His suit was sharp, his posture composed, but his eyes, those distant, heavy eyes, held a storm colder than the one outside. His name was Aaron Whitmore, and for the past 30 minutes, he had stared at the empty seat across from him as though it held every heartbreak he'd ever tried to bury. He looked like someone trying to disappear behind a mask of strength, someone who had forgotten what it felt like to hope. And then, just as the clock tapped its way to the hour, the restaurant door opened with a soft chime, and everything in his world shifted. A young woman stepped inside, shaking droplets from her umbrella, unaware that she was about to walk straight into a heart frozen by loss, a heart that had almost given up on anything warm ever returning. Before we go deeper, if you believe in kindness, forgiveness, and second chances, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel. Your support means more than you know. Her name was Marissa Carter, and she had chosen this place not for its elegance but because it was the only restaurant on this rainy block she hadn't eaten at before. She walked in carrying the scent of wet pavement and fresh beginnings, with a soft cream dress that contrasted the grayness of the day. Aaron didn't notice her at first, not fully, because his thoughts were tangled in the memory of a promise broken years earlier. But when he finally lifted his gaze, almost absent-mindedly, it caught on her like a flame touches the edge of paper. He didn't know why. Something about her presence was unassuming yet quietly bright, like the first warm day after a long winter. He told himself it meant nothing. He told himself he didn't care. But the human heart rarely obeys the mind's rules. Aaron had once been different, warmer, lighter. A man who believed in love the way some people believe in miracles. But that was before the accident, before the phone call that had shattered the future he thought he had secured. He had lost someone he planned to spend forever with, and grief had a way of hardening him into something he didn't recognize. He carried it everywhere, stitched into him like an invisible weight, convincing himself he was safer behind walls that no one could climb. Tonight had been a test, a dinner meant to prove whether he could face the world again. But the person he was supposed to meet had canceled last minute, leaving him alone in a room full of clinking silverware and whispered laughter. It wasn't the canceled plans that hurt. It was the way loneliness returned, as if it had just been waiting outside the door, eager to reclaim its place beside him. Marissa didn't see Aaron looking. She was busy trying to close her umbrella without dripping water across the floor, her cheeks flushed from the chill outside. The hostess led her to a seat near the window, close enough that Aaron could hear the faint sound of her breath as she settled in. He tried to ignore her, but something gentle, like a memory of hope, pulled his attention back. She ordered tea, chamomile. He caught the scent of it and wondered how he even recognized something so soft after months of feeling nothing at all. As the minutes passed, Marissa opened a small journal and began to write. That small act caught Aaron's interest in a way he didn't expect. Her handwriting was delicate but steady, like someone who had learned to keep moving even through storms. And suddenly he wondered, what was she writing? A letter? A dream? A confession? The curiosity alone startled him. He hadn't cared about anyone's story in a long time, not even his own. Something unexpected happened next. The lights flickered, and the restaurant briefly dimmed as the storm outside intensified. The room sighed in a collective murmur. Marissa looked up, surprised, and her eyes, warm, deep, impossibly kind, met Aaron's from across the space between them. It was a fleeting moment, but in that second, something inside him cracked, if only slightly. It wasn't love at first sight. It wasn't fate pulling two destined souls together. It was simply recognition of another human being trying her best to stay afloat. Aaron tried to look away, but the moment lingered. In those eyes, he didn't see pity or curiosity or judgment. He saw understanding. The kind that comes from someone who had also felt alone in a crowded room. The kind that gives you the slightest reason to breathe differently. Marissa closed her journal gently. As though finishing a thought she suddenly didn't want to lose. She glanced toward the door, then toward Aaron again, and he realized she wasn't waiting for anyone. She was dining alone, by choice or circumstance, just like him. There was a quiet bravery in that, and it stirred something he hadn't felt in months. Their plates arrived, hers first, then his. The clatter of ceramic woke him from the thoughts he had lost himself in. He ate slowly, distracted, his mind drifting to memories he usually tried to outrun. His fiancée's laughter, the softness of her hair. The moment everything changed, he swallowed hard. It felt wrong to feel something new when the past still held him so tightly, but it also felt wrong to stay frozen forever. A soft movement caught his attention. Marissa stood up, her chair sliding gently against the floor, and walked toward the exit. She carried her umbrella now, prepared to face the storm again. Aaron felt a strange tightening in his chest. He didn't know her, and she didn't know him. She had no idea that her presence had nudged something dormant awake. But as she reached the door, she paused. For a moment, she simply looked back, not directly at him, but toward the room as if imprinting it in her memory. Yet Aaron felt irrationally as though the pause was meant for him. When she stepped out into the rain, the door shutting softly behind her, Aaron sat very still, his breath caught. He felt an ache he couldn't name, something between longing and awakening, and for the first time in a long time he stood up. Not out of impulse, but because something in him refused to let the moment dissolve. He walked to the window. She was there, just a few feet away, struggling to open her umbrella again as the rain came down harder. He didn't run after her. He didn't call her name. He didn't even know it. But he watched her walk into the storm with a quiet grace, and he felt something remarkable, the desire to live again, the desire to feel again. She had walked into that restaurant a stranger, and walked out carrying the thawed pieces of a man who thought he would never warm again. Aaron returned to his table, sat down, and breathed deeply. It wasn't love yet. It wasn't destiny sealed. It was simply the beginning, the kind that comes gently, like rain easing into sunlight. He didn't know if he would ever see her again, but he knew now that he wanted to try. And wanting, that alone was a miracle. The next day, and the next, and the one after that, Aaron returned to the restaurant. Not obsessively, not out of desperation, but because hope had quietly moved in where sorrow once lived. He worked on himself. He confronted the grief he had avoided. He let memories hurt, but he also let them heal. He learned to sit with the past without letting it imprison him. And each evening, he sat by the window with a journal of his own, writing things he once believed he no longer had words for. Weeks later, on a day unexpectedly bright, the door chimed again, and she walked back in. This time, when their eyes met, neither looked away. If this story has touched your heart, please like the video, share it with someone who may need hope, and subscribe to the channel. It truly helps more than you know. Before the ending, I want to ask you this special request. Comment below with one word that describes how this story made you feel. And remember this, sometimes healing doesn't come in grand gestures or perfect timing. Sometimes it arrives quietly, wrapped in the presence of someone who simply exists in the right place at the right moment. Sometimes a stranger walking into a room is all it takes to melt the walls you thought were permanent. And sometimes, that tiny spark of warmth is enough to change everything.